Metacognition is a big word for something that most of us do every day without even noticing it. But what can we do to increase its use when teaching students? So, in this video, we are going to look at some of the techniques we have used over this year, and hopefully we'll be able to provide you with a few practical things that you can give a go yourselves. So the first thing we need to think about is what metacognition is. To put it simply, metacognition is thinking about thinking, but that's really only the start of the story. So metacognition is the ability to think about and regulate one's own thought. So that's to think about why you are thinking about something, to think about why you have a particular idea and how you could go and take that idea forward. So explicitly teaching learners strategies for metacognition has been shown to lead to improvements in attainment. So there are three key phases in metacognition. So this is planning, monitoring and evaluation. So these are three areas that you can work on students to improve. So the key thing to using metacognition with students is to design activities that promote them working things out for themselves, then questioning on them how they can improve what they've done. This will then help them to start questioning themselves, which will help them improve. So the way that we're going to look at some of these methods is to see how we could use them in teaching about brewing beer, but a lot of these techniques could be used across the board. So the first technique that we want to speak about is spaced cognitive recall activities. So this is a technique based around students concentrating on what they can remember and trying to recall as much as possible, either from the previous lesson or throughout the lesson based on previous activities. So at the start of the lesson, we might give the students some key information to read through. And as they go through it, they need to highlight key points, but more than that, they need to annotate why they've highlighted certain things. Then, get the students to individually write down as much as they can remember from what they've highlighted after turning the page over, so they can't physically see it anymore. Students can then compare what they have done with the person next to them or a partner, and then they can come up with something between them. After that, you can go and question students on what they've come up with. Then get the pairs of students to look back at what they've highlighted originally to see how much they have remembered. You can then go and revisit this throughout the lesson multiple times. So let's see how Miss Wilde has used models to help metacognitive thinking within students.
Modelling a concept can be a really great way to help students visualise something that they may otherwise struggle to understand, especially in areas where they're not able to apply it to their real life.
So have fun at work all day, guys. Okay, we're going to start at the beginning. We're looking at the malting process, and it starts with grains. So usually we use barley, oats or wheat, and what we do is we harvest these grains and we process them. When we process them, we heat them up, and what that does is it allows us to separate and isolate the enzymes that we're going to use in beer. Then the malt used determines the colour of the beer, so if you lightly roast your malt, you're going to have a very pale beer. But if you deeply roast your malt, then you will have a lovely dark beer. Much better. Okay, next what we do is this process here, which is the mashing of the malt. So we add malt to the mash tun, and we put it in hot water and leave it to steep. Now what that does is it produces a nice sugary liquid called wort. Doesn't sound very nice, smells and tastes quite nice. I've been to a lot of beer factories. And this process altogether we call mashing in the malt. Okay, and then from here we move along into our hop boiler. So we boil everything and we add some hops as well. So we take the wort from here and we bring it over here and we add some hops. Now what the hops does is it makes it lovely and bitter. And the wort we boil for about an hour, after which the hops are added, and that gives it that lovely bitterness and the aroma. Then what we do is we take the resultant liquid now and we cool it to around 17 degrees Celsius, 17, and we transfer it to a fermentation vessel, which is here, where the yeast is added. Ooh. So fermentation, that involves the yeast, and we add it in so that I've messed up. Where am I?
That's all right.
We add the yeast as the last stage, and that allows us to make different types of ales and beers. Then we move on to casking, where we bottle. We bottle up the beer, so we filter it, we process it, and we bottle it, and we get it ready to drink. And then it goes into the supermarkets. I go and buy it on a Friday while you're at work and drink it. Done.
So, there's a few things that we can do after these modelling activities. You could simply get students to go and summarise the model that they've looked at or answer questions. But in terms of metacognitive thinking, one of the better ways that we've found that works is to get them putting short presentations on the particular model together in pairs or groups. So metacognitive skills are not only excellent tools for students to learn differently and often find themselves struggling to keep up. They also enable students to self-regulate when faced with challenges, especially unexpected ones. So let's see how Dr. Peters has used sequencing activities to help promote metacognition.
Hi, I've been experimenting with using diagrams to help model processes, with an aim of encouraging students to take a more active role in understanding the order of events in a particular process, rather than just learning the steps. Diagrams help students to visualise and understand the phenomenon we're learning about. By asking them to order the steps using diagrams, I'm making students question their own understanding of what each step involves, promoting a deeper understanding of the concept itself. There are several ways I've used this activity in the classroom. I've given students diagrams and asked them to talk through and then write down the description of the process. I've given diagrams for the process but in the wrong order and asked students to sequence them. Alternatively, I've given the process as words and asked them to draw the diagrams to describe the process. Students are encouraged to think out loud throughout these activities, vocalising their thought process to identify errors in the ordering or the explanation of the steps themselves. These activities also lend themselves really well to peer assessment and group work. As a department, we've successfully used this technique in teaching experimental methods, multi-step processes, and also to model chemical reactions.
in the lesson is to use open-ended questions. This gives students space to reflect on their thinking. You can ask things like, can you tell me more about why you think that? And getting to think about the why is really important. Now, let's see what Mr. Moore has been doing on how modelling answers or answering questions with students.
Hello, I've been looking into how we can model written answers effectively to help improve how students plan their approach to these types of questions with the goal of improving how well they answer them. I always start by providing the students with the question and getting them to think, pair, share about how they'll approach answering it. This can include what content their answer should involve or a plan of order and structure. I then get the students to feed back to the class and collate their ideas to form a detailed plan for how to answer the question. This plan can be set out in bullet points or as a flowchart to break the question down and model good planning practice. Numbering the stages helps make the written work more manageable for students, as well as justify where the marks in the answer are coming from. And remember that throughout the feedback and breaking down the question, it is important to stress the use of simple sentences to make points easy to understand for anyone reading their work and to avoid waffle in their answer.
So, how can students use wabbles and woggles to help them?
Another method to help students think about what makes a good answer is using waggles, what a good one looks like, and wabbles, what a bad one looks like. When using waggles or wabbles, I start by getting students to read through and mark the answer. Usually, I'll give them a short time to do this independently before getting them to work in pairs. The students are then asked to feedback their thoughts about what grade they would give the answer, what awarded it marks, and what lost it marks. Marking work like this that they're not personally invested in encourages objective thinking that can lead to more critical analysis. I find that when working their own work or the work of their peers, students tend to be more lenient and find marks. Students can then hopefully transfer this critical thinking across to their own work. Using a mark scheme when analysing waggles or wabbles can be a good way to either get higher achieving students to think more about the specific requirements of some questions. It can also provide lower ability students with the framework and support they need to be confident enough to make their own informed assessments of the quality of these answers. As students become more confident with these activities, mixing answers with a range of good and bad qualities to further stretch their thinking. I find that using these activities encourage students to think more about what the questions are asking and what they need to include in their work. This is especially important as I find that even students that prepare well for exams and write good answers often miss on marks because they have not included key points that they do already know.
Students who are highly metacognitive are more able to accurately determine when they know something and if they have secure knowledge. This enables them to determine how long they should spend in revising different topics or different aspects. Let's say Miss Morgan-Vane has been using some metacognitive techniques in terms of revision and getting students to reflect on what they know and what they need to concentrate on more.
Hi there. I'd like to talk to you about the Leica system, a flashcard revision system that should help you learn key terms. First, you need to create flashcards, including questions with answers on the reverse, that you want to learn. This could be keyword definitions. Next, you need to create 3 boxes to put the flashcard into. Label box 1 every day, box 2 Tuesday and Thursday, and box 3 Friday. On On Monday, start quizzing yourself using the flashcards. If you know the answer, flashcard in box 2. If you don't know the answer, look at it and put the flashcard in box 1 so that you can practice it more. On Tuesday, start quizzing yourself using the flashcards in box 1. If you know the answer, put it into box 2. If you don't know the answer, look at it and put the flashcard back into box 1 so that you can practice it more. Also quiz yourself using the flashcards in box 2. If you know the answer, put it into box 3. If you don't know the answer, look at it and put it back into box 1 so you can practice it more. If this is repeated for a week, this system should help in the learning of key terms.
So, that's all, folks? Or is it? And before the lockdown, that's where we probably would have ended. However, recent events have caused us to go and look at some of the metacognitive techniques we've used in a different light. There have been a few things we've tried to put in place and have thought about during the lockdown to help increase students' engagement and understanding of different concepts. So, on lots of the activities that we've sent out, we've included a series of metacognitive questions for students to think about while they're doing the activity or after they've finished it. Students have been set article tasks and other things to work through where they have had to go and think about the information that they want to present and decide what is important, then go and bring it together. During the lockdown, staff have found lots of short courses to do which have helped in their understanding of metacognitive techniques and their own professional development. And metacognitive self-reliance is now going to be included in lots of new lessons that's being put together for September. So, I've been David Chuck and I would like to thank you for watching this, and I would like to thank the other members of the group that I've worked on looking at metacognition.